You have been watching me for hours. Are you planning to introduce yourself, or is staring a custom where you come from? The soldier's gravelly voice cut through the forest's heavy silence, startling the figure hiding behind a massive tree trunk. A sharp intake of breath followed, and then a soft, melodic voice responded, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to intrude. I wasn't sure if it was safe to approach." The man shifted his stance, lowering the fishing rod he'd been using to pass the time. His sharp, weathered eyes scanned the underbrush until they landed on her, an otherworldly figure stepping hesitantly into the open. The sunlight dappled her shimmering, pale blue skin and her hair, which cascaded like liquid silver down her back. Her luminous violet eyes locked onto his, both frightened and defiant. "Safe to approach?" he echoed with a hint of sarcasm. "Lady, if I were dangerous, you'd already know." "I've had some bad experiences," she admitted, clasping her hands nervously in front of her. "Not everyone is welcoming where I'm from." He gave her a once-over, his suspicion barely veiled. "You're not exactly from around here, are you?" Her silence spoke volumes. She glanced away, her delicate features clouded with a sadness that felt almost tangible. "I'm looking for refuge," she said quietly. "I've been betrayed." The soldier sighed, running a hand through his scruffy hair. He'd come to this remote forest to escape his own demons, not to play savior to an alien runaway. But there was something about her vulnerability, her quiet strength, that stirred something deep within him, something he thought he'd lost. "Well," he said gruffly, "I've got a cabin nearby. You can rest there for a while. But let's get one thing straight. I'm no hero, and I don't do charity. You pull your weight, or you're on your own." Her eyes lit up with gratitude, a small smile tugging at her lips. "Thank you. I promise. I'll do whatever I can to repay your kindness." He muttered something under his breath about getting himself into trouble before motioning for her to follow. As they trudged through the dense forest, an uneasy silence settled between them. The soldier's mind raced with questions he didn't dare voice yet. Who was she running from? Why had she chosen this remote corner of the planet to hide? And why did he feel an inexplicable urge to protect her? They reached his cabin as the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across the clearing. The structure was modest, almost camouflaged by the surrounding trees, but it was sturdy and well kept. He opened the door and gestured for her to enter. "Home sweet home," he said dryly. She stepped inside, her gaze sweeping over the simple furnishings. "It's cozy," she said, her voice tinged with genuine appreciation. He shrugged, setting his gear by the door. "It does the job. Now, let's talk. Who are you, and what exactly are you running from?" Her expression grew serious, and she hesitated before speaking. "My name is Lyra. I'm the princess of a distant world called Aranthia. Or at least I was." "Princess?" he repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Shouldn't you be in a palace somewhere, surrounded by guards and servants?" "I was betrayed," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "My closest advisor plotted against me. They wanted to seize power, and I barely escaped with my life. I've been hunted ever since." The soldier frowned, leaning back against the wall. "Hunted by who?" "By assassins, mercenaries, anyone they could pay to find me. They want me dead, so there's no chance of reclaiming my throne." Her eyes met his, filled with a mixture of desperation and determination. "I need to stay hidden until I can figure out my next move." He rubbed his temples, feeling the weight of her words settle on his shoulders. "Lyra, you've got a hell of a mess on your hands. And now, by helping you, so do I." "I didn't ask you to help me," she said quietly, though there was no anger in her tone. "I'll leave if that's what you want." He sighed deeply, the image of her frightened, yet resolute face etched into his mind. "No, you're safer here than out there. Just don't expect me to be your knight in shining armor." "Understood," she said with a small nod. "And thank you. Truly." The following days were an exercise in cautious coexistence. Lyra proved resourceful, helping with chores and learning to adapt to the rugged lifestyle. She shared bits and pieces of her story, painting a vivid picture of her vibrant home world and the treachery that had brought her to this remote corner of the galaxy. Despite his initial reservations, The soldier found himself drawn to her resilience and quiet strength. But their fragile peace was shattered one evening when an unfamiliar sound pierced the forest's tranquility, the low hum of alien technology. Lyra's eyes widened in fear, and the soldier's hand instinctively reached for the rifle he kept by the door. "They found me," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Stay inside," he ordered, his tone leaving no room for argument. He stepped out into the twilight, scanning the treetops for the source of the noise. Moments later, a sleek, insect-like craft descended, its metallic surface glinting ominously in the fading light. The soldier's grip tightened on his weapon as the ship's hatch opened, revealing a group of alien figures clad in armor that shimmered like black glass. They moved with precision, their weapons at the ready. "Hand over the fugitive, and we'll spare your life," one of them said in a guttural, mechanical voice. The soldier didn't flinch. "Sorry, but I'm fresh out of fugitives. Try the next cabin over." The leader's visor glowed ominously. "Do not test our patience, human." Inside the cabin, Lyra clenched her fists, her heart pounding. She knew she couldn't let him face them alone. Gathering her courage, she stepped outside, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. "I'm the one you're looking for. Leave him out of this." The aliens turned their attention to her, and for a moment, the tension was palpable. But before they could make a move, the soldier's rifle barked, and chaos erupted. What followed was a blur of movement and sound, blaster fire lighting up the dark forest, the soldier's sharp commands cutting through the din, and Lyra's quick thinking saving them both more than once. Despite the odds, they managed to drive the attackers back, the damaged craft retreating into the night sky. As silence returned, the soldier turned to Lyra, his expression a mixture of exasperation and grudging respect. "You've got guts, princess. I'll give you that." She smiled faintly, exhaustion evident in her features. "I told you, I'll do whatever it takes to survive." He shook his head, a reluctant smile tugging at his lips. "Looks like we're in this together now. Let's hope we're both as tough as we think we are." In the days that followed, the cabin transformed into a makeshift sanctuary and command post. Lyra worked alongside the soldier, who finally introduced himself as Ethan, though he seemed reluctant to share much else about his past. The forest grew quieter after the encounter with the aliens, but an air of unease lingered. Both of them knew it was only a matter of time before the attackers returned, and next time, they'd come better prepared. Ethan began teaching Lyra how to handle basic weapons, starting with a small blaster he had kept from his military days. "You need to know how to defend yourself," he insisted as she clumsily adjusted her grip on the unfamiliar weapon. "Your enemies won't always give you time to figure it out." "I'm trying," she said through gritted teeth, firing off a shot that went wide. "This isn't exactly my specialty." "You'll get there," he replied, his tone softer than she expected. "It's about survival now." In quieter moments, Lyra shared more about her home world, painting vivid pictures of Aranthia's lush landscapes, crystal-clear oceans, and towering cities that gleamed under twin suns. But her stories were tinged with sorrow, a reminder of the betrayal that had forced her to flee. "I never thought I'd miss home this much," she confessed one evening as they sat by the fire. "Even with all the danger, it was still mine." Ethan stared into the flames, his jaw tightening. "Home isn't always what it's cracked up to be. Sometimes, it's just a place you're trying to forget." Lyra glanced at him, her curiosity piqued. "What happened to you, Ethan? Why are you out here all alone?" He hesitated, his expression hardening. "Let's just say I've got my own demons and leave it at that." Before she could press further, a sharp noise interrupted their conversation. They both froze, their senses on high alert. The sound of rustling leaves grew louder, and Ethan grabbed his rifle, motioning for Lyra to stay behind him. A figure emerged from the shadows, humanoid in shape but unmistakably alien. It was covered in iridescent scales that shimmered with every movement, and its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. The creature raised a hand, a universal gesture of peace, but Ethan kept his weapon trained on it. "Who are you, and what do you want?" he demanded. The alien spoke, its voice a harmonious blend of melodic tones and guttural clicks. "I mean no harm. My name is Caliph, and I come bearing a warning. Ethan's grip on his rifle didn't waver, though his curiosity was piqued. A warning about what? Calitha's glowing eyes shifted to Lyra. The forces hunting you are relentless, Princess Lyra. They will not stop until you are captured or eliminated. I have come to aid you. If you will accept my help. Lyra stepped forward, her heart pounding with a mixture of hope and suspicion. How do I know I can trust you? Caliph tilted its head slightly, its iridescent scales catching the firelight. Because I, too, have suffered under the treachery of those who now seek your life. My people were once allies of Aranthia, but we were betrayed and scattered when your court was overthrown. Helping you is my way of seeking justice for what was lost. Ethan exchanged a glance with Lyra, his expression unreadable. This sounds convenient. How do we know you're not leading them right to us? Calitha's gaze remained steady. If I intended harm, I would not have come alone and unarmed. The choice is yours, but time is running out. They are gathering their forces, and the next wave will be overwhelming. Lyra's mind raced. Trust was a dangerous gamble, but Calitha's words resonated with her. If what you're saying is true, then we need all the help we can get. But if you betray us, I will accept whatever punishment you deem fit. Caliph interrupted, bowing its head solemnly. I swear on the honor of my people. Ethan sighed, lowering his rifle slightly. Fine, but you'd better be as useful as you claim to be. Caliph inclined its head, its movements graceful. You will not regret this. Over the next few days, Caliph integrated into their small group, proving to be an invaluable ally. Its knowledge of alien technology and tactics filled gaps in their defenses, and its ability to scout undetected provided them with early warnings of enemy movements. Caliph shared details about the forces pursuing Lyra, a coalition of mercenaries and assassins led by a shadowy figure named Morvith, Lyra's former advisor and the mastermind behind the coup. He will stop at nothing to consolidate his power, Caliph explained one evening. As long as you live, you represent a threat to his rule. Ethan leaned back in his chair, his expression grim. So, what's the plan? Because we can't just sit here waiting for them to show up. Calitha's scaled hand traced a map it had drawn of the surrounding area. We must disrupt their operations, strike at their supply lines, dismantle their communications, and weaken them before they can launch their full assault. Ethan nodded slowly. Guerrilla tactics. I can work with that. Lyra, who had been listening intently, spoke up. And then what? Even if we slow them down, they won't stop until they find me. We need a way to end this for good. Calitha's eyes gleamed. The only way to end this is to confront Morvith directly. Remove him, and his forces will scatter. The room fell silent as the weight of Calitha's words sank in. Finally, Ethan spoke. That's a tall order. But if it's the only way, then we'd better start preparing. Their first strike came at night, under the cover of darkness. With Caliph leading the way, the trio infiltrated a makeshift base set up by Morvith's forces on the outskirts of the forest. Ethan's military expertise and Lyra's growing confidence in her newfound skills proved crucial, while Calitha's stealth and alien technology gave them an edge. The operation was a success, leaving the enemy's communications in disarray. But it came at a cost. Lyra witnessed the harsh realities of combat firsthand, and though they escaped unscathed, the experience left her shaken. I don't know if I can keep doing this, she admitted to Ethan as they tended to their equipment back at the cabin. I've never taken a life before. Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. No one's born ready for this. But you're stronger than you think, Lyra. And you're not alone. His words bolstered her resolve, and as the days turned into weeks, Lyra grew more confident in her abilities. The trio continued their campaign against Morvith's forces, each victory bringing them closer to their ultimate goal. The day of reckoning arrived under a stormy sky. Armed with the knowledge and resources they had gathered, the group launched a daring assault on Morvith's stronghold, a towering structure hidden deep within the forest. The battle was fierce, with blaster fire and explosions lighting up the darkened sky. Lyra confronted Morvith in the stronghold's throne room, her heart pounding as she faced the man who had betrayed her. This ends now, Morvith, she declared, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her. Morvith sneered, his voice dripping with disdain. You're a fool to think you can stop me, girl. You should have stayed in exile. Their battle was as much a clash of wills as it was of strength, and in the end, Lyra's determination won out. With Ethan and Calitha's support, she managed to defeat Morvith, reclaiming the symbol of her authority, a jeweled crest that had been stolen during the coup. As Morvith's forces crumbled, Lyra stood at the stronghold's entrance, the weight of her victory sinking in. It's over, she said quietly. Ethan nodded, a rare smile breaking through his usual stoicism. You did it, princess. Caliph stepped forward, its expression unreadable. This is only the beginning. Rebuilding will not be easy, but you have the strength to lead your people back to greatness. Lyra looked at her two companions, gratitude shining in her eyes. I couldn't have done this without you. Thank you for everything. As the storm began to clear, the trio stood together, united by their shared journey. Though their paths would soon diverge, the bond they had forged would remain unbreakable, a testament to the power of resilience, friendship, and hope.